I'm suspecting from where he got this.
After decades of political parties being banned and Ben Ali holding elections in which he was the only candidate, there are high hopes that Tunisia can now become a real democracy. Many opponents of the Ben Ali regime, who were imprisoned and tortured, have now been released. Those that have been living in exile for decades are now returning. Licenses are awaited for the formation of new parties and for the legal recognition of old ones. One discussion taking place in Tunisia is on the question of how long the interim government should be allowed to govern. The old political and business elite want to extend the interim government's term beyond March the 15th until presidential elections in July. France and the US are thought to be pressing for the formation of a new centre party that will absorb leading members of the RCD and provide a candidate for the presidency. The secular left and the Islamic parties, including Al-Nada, want deeper change. Along with the main trade union federation, they have recently formed a national council for the defence of the revolution. They are calling for this national council to be officially recognised. Tunisians also want the issue of human rights abuses and poverty addressed. Under Ben Ali, the government frequently used the threat of terrorism and religious extremism as a pretext to crack down on peaceful dissent.
They wanted to make any political activist a curse for the whole family and for the whole relatives. So if you are a political activist, most likely what is going to happen is they apply the guilt by association. Well, it's the same. It's not limited limited just to her. She says that applies to her other brothers. Sometimes even the driving license they can't get. Some of them, they graduated and they don't get a job. Father and mother with family of blind people, and they get threatened, frightened whenever they come and just enter the house.
State security agents use surveillance, arbitrary detention and physical aggression to intimidate and persecute those whom the government deemed to be a threat. These abuses were no secret, but rather they condemn Ben Ali. International governments praised him. In 1989, the French Centre for Political and Social Studies gave Ben Ali the Man of the Year award for his work in promoting human rights in Tunisia. Chirac, in 1990, said Ben Ali was the best model for the Arab world, and a former head of MI5 called Ben Ali our ally in the war on terror. Then there have been the arms sales to Tunisia. Between 2008 and 2009, UK arms licences to Tunisia more than trebled, from £1.6 million to £5.9 million. This so-called public control equipment is currently being used against demonstrators across the Arab world. Alongside a steady flow of arms from the West has been the insistence on free market economics. As Canadian economist Michael Chossudovsky stated,
the harsh economic and social realities underlying IMF intervention are soaring food prices, massive layoffs of urban workers, and the destruction of social programs.
The interim government is facing fierce opposition to neoliberalism, led by the trade union movement. It is as yet unclear whether the promised break with the past will include a repeal of the neoliberal economic forums.
The question which we put actually to the Western governments, to the conscience of Europe, and to the principles of Europe, and to the resources of America and Europe is democracy is a common human principle, or it is just a good or commodity which the West would like to keep for himself, and to leave as a prey for dictatorship and oppression. The message of the revolutionists in Tunisia, that our nation, our ummah, will not accept to be on the pavement, the street pavements. We have our own place under the sun. We are ready to interact with all the people, but we will not accept a lower status.
Whether Tunisia will be allowed real democracy remains to be seen. As Jonathan Still wrote in The Guardian recently,
Western leaders like to think that they are bringing democracy to less enlightened parts of the world. In Tunisia, things look different. They see a West that supported a string of Arab dictators.
In Tunisia, the forces of freedom and democracy are grouping themselves. The fight for independence, human rights and dignity has begun.